Thank you for inviting me today. My name is Jennifer Hackett. I am a candidate for UU ministry, and I did my internship virtually from Nashville, Tennessee, in Eugene, Oregon, this last church year. During the pandemic, all ministerial internships were virtual. My internship supervisor was the Reverend Lois Van Leer, former minister of this church. She says hello. Our goal for a road trip this summer was to get to Eugene, Oregon, where we could get to meet the people that I had served all last year. A series of fortunate events led to my family on a budget, getting to go on this road trip of a lifetime this summer in our new to us camper van. Between stimulus checks, frugality and spending, and the kindness of friends and family, we set off at the end of June and enjoyed that sweet window of visiting vaccinated friends and family safely. We learned many lessons along the way. The first lesson is twofold. The further west you go, the larger the serving of ice cream you will get. And also on the dessert notion, if you have ice cream o'clock every single day, no matter where you are in America, your shorts will not fit by the time you get home. These are just facts. I hope you can learn from this overindulgence and do better than I did. Although huckleberry ice cream is amazing. Our route was kind of a rectangle up from Tennessee through Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, and then west through Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, the Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and the apex of our trip, Eugene, in mid-July. I was simply stunned in July to see the absolute beauty of Montana. Holy land. How lucky you are to live there. Don't forget to look up today and take in the beauty around you. We stayed with family and friends and camped in our van all over, including various UU church parking lots, including yours. Thank you. This experience of reaching out to UUs I'd never met before and explaining that I just finished my ministerial internship and where I was heading, and by the way, can I sleep in your parking lot? It was a very connecting experience. I am, and you are, part of a much bigger movement than just those of us gathered here today. The different church architecture choices in each locale, the different parts of town where each church was situated, were all fascinating. And yet, the posters, the language, the messaging of our shared values was pretty much the same. All those chalices lighting our way. The lesson was, we are not alone in this faith. It was good to sleep in UU parking lots. Another lesson I learned is that it's not just camper vans and RVs who pull into Walmart parking lots to sleep each night for free. And what it felt like to see people emerging from their non-camping vehicles, which were also their homes. America's Nomadland isn't just a terrific book and movie. Unhoused Americans are not just in tents or whatever green space they can find. They're everywhere, living in their vehicles. We are a middle-class family, and lots of times it feels like so many have so much more than us. And after this trip, I felt luckier than ever before to have not just a vehicle I can sleep in, but a home as well. I also relearned the importance of privileging loved ones. And by that, I mean giving them our time. Our beloveds, those people in our lives who make us whole people, who've loved us through our snarky years and have patience with us as we continue to come into being our best selves. They're valuable, whether they're related to you or if you have just chosen each other. The difference between a post-Thanksgiving Zoom game and getting to hug each other in real life felt huge at the beginning of the pandemic. It feels huge now. Proximity and intimacy do not have to be at odds, though it is nice when we can have both. It was because of the Thanksgiving 2020 Zoom games that our in-person Family Day in July of 2021 felt so natural. It's worth it to figure out how to connect. Our theme this month is cultivating relationship. Let's keep connecting in whatever ways we can during these ongoing strange times. Which brings us to our country divide. I was 38 years old and pregnant with my younger child when I had the realization that all of our world leaders, our Congress, the presidents of corporations, ministers of megachurches, people who share my values and those who don't, they were all just regular people. They were not so different from me, except in position. So too are those people all out on the road at the same time. We are a people away from the place that we call home, all out to cultivate relationships with our beloveds and sometimes with others. And sometimes remembering that people are all just people and not monsters, well, put to the test. Our family was somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming or Idaho, when we saw a billboard of a person ripping off their mask with the slogan, "Freedom is the cure." I'll tell you, this felt like a gut punch to all of my careful months of utilizing all of the always emerging science to stay safe and staying home and washing my hands and getting vaccinated and wearing a mask. It wasn't too far down the road from there when we reached one of those regions of the country where the only radio you can get is livestock reports or conservative talk radio. Being not that interested in how many cows live out west, no offense to the cows, we opted for talk radio just to see. Can't remember the last time I did this, if ever. So I was a bit shocked by what happened. The host reported his opinions as facts, told us a story in which he was a hero, and then gave us a call to action to do as he had done. The opinion facts in this instance were about COVID and masking, and the story was one in which he was the hero, involved him educating, this was his word, a TSA agent at the airport about his right to not wear a mask at the airport and on airplanes. And his call to action was for us, the listeners, to do the same. So there I am in the front seat of the camper van, reacting out loud about the general badness about what I had heard and realizing for the first time that progressives are listening to radio shows that report facts. And then, totally separately, we are deciding what to do about those facts via actions through nonprofits, attending protests, maybe discussing it at our church. And a lot of times, maybe even most of the time, momentum is lost when going from one medium, this first medium, the news, to processing it and then deciding what we think about it and then figuring out what action steps to take thereafter. Listeners to conservative radio are apparently getting one-stop shopping where opinions are presented as facts and followed by a call to action with instructions right then and there about what to do about it. The conservative crush in our society suddenly made sense to me. And I started spouting off about it, which is when my spouse took what I can only describe as a marital risk. He said to me, They're in their echo chamber and you're in yours too. I turned and asked him, I'm very calmly, I am super sure that was how I reacted. What do you mean by that comment? Well, unless I'm taking confidential calls, my family does walk around the areas where I work, and apparently the gist of what we say about being a liberal faith with a progressive agenda to serve our world with justice at the forefront has been overheard. And I'm proud of that. And that's how I want to live my life. And if you're here today, it's probably what you want too, or something very similar to this. And the guy on the radio is proud too. He's just people. And he and I, we disagree. And so there I am at the crossroads of how to live our faith every day while bringing more people to see justice as I see it, while living into our first principle of promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Every person? How seriously are we going to take this first principle by which we've covenanted to live our lives? Mile after mile, I pondered this all the way down the Pacific coast, all the way east from LA, all the way to the Texas National Seashore, and all the way up home to Tennessee again. I thought of it every day. I thought of it as I saw people and their masking behavior as the numbers of the pandemic began to creep up again alarmingly. And we felt like the only family in America who knew that we were in a pandemic on this road trip. I called a trusted friend when I got home and I talked this through, how to move forward with this new understanding. We decided I'd have to chunk it. This is the term that the Navy SEALs use to get through hard missions. Don't imagine trying to move through the whole minefield. It's overwhelming. Just get safely to this rock. Now safely to this tree. Now 3 more feet this way. And in this way, the mission gets done. Thus, I made a commitment to my friend on the phone to do one action toward being moderate while still living into my values, of somehow meeting even one person with whom I didn't agree in a place where I could describe as meeting in the middle. Like in our story today, I wanted to find a polar bear and at least overcome my fear of him and work toward genuine relationship where we could reestablish some mutual respect. It did not take me long to find this opportunity to put my first chunk commitment into practice. The very day I had this phone call making this commitment, my older child had a visit to his friend's scout troop. It was sort of a try it before you buy it night. The friend's dad took me along on a tour while the kids had their meeting. And I knew within 5 minutes that my son would want to join. The other kids enfolded him in quickly, and they began a meeting that was raucous and fun, and they burst into communal song every few minutes. It was a fantastic example of welcome in action. I knew that he would want to be a part of it. We all long for belonging. I also knew that the friend's mother steered clear of this troop for reasons she had only described in her text as sexist dads. So after seeing the scout barn with its knot tying posts and hearing about the wonders of the hiking trips to come, I asked what the tenor of the troop was. And the dad, touring me around, took a deep breath and said, well, there's some old-fashioned ideas around here from some of the dads, but don't worry, he said, our leadership, the scoutmaster, the treasurer, etc., we're all kind of progressive. Well, that sounds good, I said. Tell me about your wife's concerns. He sighed again and described to me the following. Well, scouting is a leadership program, and For example, one of the badges last spring involved the scouts learning to make dinner for us, the dads. One of the dads said we should include the mothers, and it quickly became decided that the moms could, and I'm quoting here, bake us some pies, come and serve them after we've eaten, and clean up for us afterwards. After I checked my watch to see what year it was, and then checked his face to see if he at least looked pained by what he had just told me, I told him it was indeed a lucky day, that I had just hours ago committed to one action of building relationship where it was not comfortable for me to do so. For me, this troop, or at least some of the dads within it, were going to take a giant dose of second principle thinking and a teenager to promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. That this scout troop needed my Unitarian Universalist son to come in to live his values, our values, quietly into being. That it might take a kid scratching his head and wondering out loud, as he did on the way home when I told him this story, if this is a leadership program, why are the scouts not baking the pies and cleaning up after ourselves? I can honestly say that I do live in a very comfortable bubble. Nearly everyone I know well thinks and acts like me on this road that is the path of my life. I want to invite you to walk out in the rain and get muddy. Come dream a dream with me for our country. When we think of a stranger, we are conditioned to think of carrying pepper spray. Our lizard brains are very good at keeping us away from dangerous unknowns. How then do we cultivate relationship? I will drop the link into the chat of this video that I'm going to describe at the end of my sermon. It's about a woman who was part of a religious organization who based their actions around hate. In the video, the woman who came out of the group was talking with children, trying to explain to them what it was that kept her tied to this group who was spouting these terrible things. It was strangers on social media who invited her into love and changed her heart. It was through their commitment to loving actions that she was able to love for the first time. Author Adrienne Marie Brown tells us, I think it is healing behavior to look at something so broken and see the possibility and the wholeness in it. I've been all over this great, big, broken country this summer. I want to invite you into healing behavior. Maybe you too would be willing to make a commitment to one action, to doing this courageous spiritual work of living into our principles. Invite someone to dream a dream with you through one action of living into our values that we share, even if it is a hard road to travel.